Okay, we're here with Brian Hall, who is the director of GIS, was Graphic Interface
Geographic Information Systems.
System with the Stark County Auditor's Office. Alan Harold's the Stark County Auditor. And the question I have, this came up a week ago at Commissioners meeting about bids for computer aided dispatch.
Yes.
And what system the county was going to buy into. And one item that came up was the interoperability between CAD and GIS. Could you explain that to just the lay people out in Stark County general public?
Sure, absolutely. So this system will integrate the CAD, the GIS, and the CAD system as it currently does already. I mean, we already have a process in place where we get all of the latest address and centerline information to the dispatch offices, and we provide that information through a web update process. So it is currently available to the dispatchers to pull that in that fashion. The way it's going with the new CAD system, and I would just call on Rich here to confirm if there's anything that I have that's incorrect. But the way it would work with the new CAD system, as it's proposed, would be the same process that we currently have in place. And then with regards to moving forward into this address management RFP and then address management RFP that we have on the table, it would be to move more up to what I called before a geodatabase in an ESRI format. That's how we natively store all of our data currently, and that's the way that we want to move as far as the direction to streamline this process even further. Now, the dispatchers would have the ability at their desktop to make any changes to addresses that are coming through that are incorrect or found to be incorrect. That information would then be passed on to a technician to take a look at that and to see, what that problem is and confirm any changes that need to be made. So that address management system from end to end would be the process for us to provide all of the accurate information that we can to the county dispatch offices, PSAPs, throughout the county.
So there would be feedback. So if there were some errors in the GIS, that there's a built-in correction procedure to get that happen. Do I have that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Weber, you're the expert on this?
A little bit. About, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years ago, the commissioners and the auditor's office went together, and we have John Reese come out one day a week to update.
And you with Mr. Reese is with?
The
auditor's office.
Oh, you're both with the auditor's office. And you, what office you
I'm
with?
with EMA 911. For the county.
With
Tim Worsler's
Tim
deputy.
Worsler's office.
Sir.
Okay.
They allow John to come out one day a week, and he's able to provide the updates. If somebody were to take a field that would typically be one address and they decide to split that up into a host of addresses, or somebody buys a parcel within that to create an address, it can take weeks to a month for us to sometimes get a snail mail piece of information in there to know that we need to create and extend a range because North Canton annexed an area, to make those changes so that whenever somebody dials 911, we have the most accurate information to try and get police, fire, and EMS on scene as quickly as possible. So this will help on the GIS side, make sure that we have the most accurate information as possible for as quickly for those folks who are out there working with the annex part of it to make sure that our mapping, because ultimately here in the next few years we're going to switch. Right now the 911 system is based off of the 10-digit number. Whenever you dial 911, it says, hey, your number is 555-1234. You're typically located at this address, whereas there's going to be a conversion amongst the telephone companies that they're going to be taking a look at. It'll first look at where you're physically located within space, and then attribute that phone number to try and make it more accurate, because most of the phone numbers now are mobile, a cellular telephone or some other, device where they can contact 911. So we're trying to look ahead and make sure that our mapping is as accurate as possible to be able to provide the service to Stark County.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and in that next gen 911 system, the location database that will be used will be GIS oriented. In other words, that's the reason why we're trying to bring all this data into the environment that I talked about with one centralized database. If we have it in that environment, we can disseminate this data to those entities very quickly and easily. And it's all in the same format then that will be ready for this Next Gen 911. So far as to say even that the state would be able to disseminate that data, with Next Gen 911, there's a bigger picture than potentially just, county to county. You now start to look at these larger areas and so far as actually up to the state level.
So then to get at the core of your question as far as how this interacts with the CAD,
Right.
to make sure that we get all this annex information and the stuff that they do on a day-to-day basis as far as mapping of fire hydrants and where the closest firehouse or police car, if they have automatic vehicle location, all of that stuff starts to intersect there, and it all plays over then into that CAD where they can turn on and off different layers of information within that overall mapping format. So there's a natural progression here as far as, but we need to first make sure that we get that mapping right so that everything that lays on top of that mapping, where the vehicles are, is as accurate as possible.
In the commissioners coming to the decision which CAD system to go with, my question is from a GIS vantage point, did it make any difference which direction the commissioners went?
We consult. I was actually able to consult with that group that was doing the CAD RFP, and yes, a lot of the information that I shared with them and the recommendation that I provided to that group was a recommendation that supported the ESRI format that we have all of our data in.
Okay.
So yes, there's certainly communication there. We're certainly aware of all of the data that they're going to need for that system. And then on top of that, this would be this RFP that we're looking at here today would be kind of the culmination of bringing all that data to from an editing point all the way through to a disseminating point down there for dispatch and when people are calling in for 911 help.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, and so I know I'm asking the question again, but I didn't quite grasp the answer. Was of the finalists in the CAD system bidding, was there one preferred system over another?
No, actually, the two. I think they were down to two solutions. Is that correct? And at that point, they both supported the ESRI format, and that's actually, that RFP decision.
So
I'm not part of that.
That's the key. Is that it needs to support what, EIS?
ESRI.
Okay, what does that stand for?
Environmental Systems Research Institute. It's a
national, international
standard for GIS
so
data.
Just about anybody that's in the CAD business.
Anybody, any reputable company would be able to interact with this format.
That.
Sure.
Be able to.
Okay.
That's true.
I'm just trying to understand.
I know it is a.
If you need any help, you can come out. We'll draw it on the board as best we can. So,
okay.
We're more than willing to, because it is very technical. Especially you start talking about the 911, the 10-digit to the location base. Some of the diagrams, they boggle us, and I've actually had to color it in to make sure that the lines.
Right.
So anything we can do to make sure that. We can make it as easy to understand as possible.
Well, in light of full disclosure, it's come. I have information to the effect that there's a CAD provider out there that didn't actually bid, or at least was deemed not to timely bid, and the cost is going to be dramatically less than what the county is signed up for. And it's the tax system, if you're familiar with that. Can anybody address that as to whether or not TAC would have done the job?
I'm not sure. I've heard similar information, but I'm not sure what mapping platform he uses.
Okay, but it would be the system that you're talking about that he'd have to integrate with it. Am I correct, sir?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And now I had no information on that.
I need to go back to TAC and find out whether or not they can meet that particular criterion. Would that be the right question to be asking?
They would need to make sure that it's ESRI format insofar as a geodatabase, be able to support a geodatabase structure, not a shapefile structure. There's a lot out there that could probably disseminate this data through what's called shapefiles, and that's an ESRI format. However, here at Stark County, we're pretty advanced with our geodatabase design and how we disseminate all this data. So that's where I would say one of the things that I am looking for as a GIS director, I'm looking for that information to be natively in that format and be able to be disseminated that way.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm trying to get a base of information, so as I delve into this, make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. So that's the reason for the questions.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And I'd be more than happy to help you along the same lines as Rich
Okay.
would. We could, sit down with you and give you more
Okay.
details.
Okay, thank you.